25 years ago, in 1999, I was given a copy of a dark, edgy game that I'd never heard of. The Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. At the time, I didn't even know what Kain was. I didn't know anything about this. I hadn't seen ads for the game. It just popped up. So when I put that disc into my PS1 and played it for the first time, greeted by this insane cutscene, I was instantly blown away. Soul Reaver 1 and 2 are one long connected story following the journey of Raziel, a vampire lord who's executed, reborn centuries later, and goes on a quest to kill his creator Kain. And in this new collection, it really presents that bleak, badass saga in a gorgeous new way. But let's break that down. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and this is my brutally honest review for the Soul Reaver collection. Now, we're going to break this video into three separate sections: the graphics, the gameplay, and the story, because all three are important, and all three have actually been very nicely upgraded in this remaster. So let's begin with those graphics. The developers over at Aspyr have really been doing some amazing work on these intense remasters the last couple of years that, in my opinion, are borderline remakes, like what they did with the Tomb Raider collection back in February. I loved that. So Soul Reaver, it's always been a series with incredibly broody art and a very specific style to it. Clearly, they wanted this to be a mix of like gothic creepiness and ancient folklore. And this remaster, it really brings that out better than ever. Each character, monster, and boss has been completely redone. Their models, their mapping, even the art style itself in a way has been completely updated. Now these models, they are rebuilt to be completely new, and it's impressive how much they managed to keep the original vibe while really making it look like a 2024 game at the same time. So often I feel like when I see a game that tries to update a visual presentation or something like that, it really feels like they lose that spark of what made the game so unique in the first place. Like, something that definitely is so cool about the whole Soul Reaver saga is that when you look at it, it is unique. It does stand out. From the very first screen, you look at it and it's like, wow, nobody else is even trying that. Now, let's be clear, this upgrade is pretty much only to the characters. So the world itself, it really pretty much looks the same. By clicking the right stick, you can toggle back and forth to the old graphics or the new graphics. And I really liked doing this during cutscenes and stuff because you get a good look as to how much things have improved. But once you leave these cutscenes, I think it's pretty easy to notice that they didn't really update the world that much. Like, maybe the grass is slightly smoother or the water is kind of cleaner, but the only thing that was completely remade, very obviously, is the characters themselves. Now, you might be looking at these visuals and saying, okay, well, whether the filters are on or off, both versions of this game actually look pretty dang fantastic. Honestly, even the unremastered graphics, I think they've cleaned them up quite a bit over the original. Like, let me show you. So I captured this gameplay myself directly from a PlayStation Classic. And I think it's cool to see this original version because this is what I grew up with, but it really cannot be overstated how much easier and crisper the entire presentation is in the remaster, whether you use the new gameplay graphics or not. But let me talk about that. This segues good into the new combat and the new controls. So the biggest change to the Soul Reaver collection is that you can now control the camera with the right stick. Now, that probably doesn't sound like the biggest, most groundbreaking thing of all time, but it is actually pretty substantial. The biggest enemy that killed you the most often in the original Soul Reaver was by far just the camera controls. you would die so often because the camera gets sucked into a pillar or gets stuck on a wall and stuff like that because you couldn't control it. It would literally just get stuck and being sent back to a previous checkpoint or dying to a boss over and over again because you can't see it coming. It was at times frustrating. So now the fact that I can very easily look anywhere at any time, and with these modern controls, it just looks better. From combat to exploration, it's a lot easier of a package. Now, Soul Reaver, it does have fighting in it, but I would consider it to be mostly a puzzle game. There is fighting, and I'm using a lot of clips of the fighting because I enjoy the combat in general, but for the most part, this is about solving problems. Moving boxes, finding keys, turning mirrors to try and make some reflections to open up a big sunny door and stuff like that. But honestly, just being able to look around now, I think it makes all of this work a lot better. Now, you can roast me in the comments for this, but I do kind of wish they had added in some sort of mission text or goal marker or something with this remaster, because since this game is so big and a lot of the puzzles and stuff are at times a bit overly vague, I do kind of wish that it would say, hey, you're in the right room, or even the last piece of dialogue. A lot of times somebody will show up and give you a cryptic clue of, go watch the sunset, Raziel. And that kind of tells you, okay, I got to turn a mirror to make an eclipse or something like that on the wall. I do honestly think that the presentation would have been a bit better if we had something on the screen that would say, a quest thing or something that would pop up when you pause the game. I feel like other games have done that. I will admit that during the course of playing through both these games, even having played them in the past, I did at one point have to look up a walkthrough because I just could not figure out where to go. So it is still playable, but if you're a first-time person of this, with all the backtracking, with a lot of the hidden puzzle pieces and stuff, at times I still feel like, even with the updated controls, the updated graphics, the updated camera, it is still a bit overly obtuse just to be cool and cryptic. Now, I did mention modern controls. So you can switch these on and off in the options menu, but essentially it just changes the mapping. It makes it so that buttons are placed where they would be today, so it feels a bit more modern when you're trying to run around and fight people and stuff like that. Now, I liked the original combat and everything, but I definitely found myself enjoying those random monster fights more now that everything works a lot smoother. Doing combos, picking up weapons, impaling vampires on giant spikes, or throwing people into acidic water and stuff like that. Everything is a lot smoother, and it's honestly just more fun. Now, let's talk about that story, because they've added in some extra stuff here with the bonus features that are exclusive to this collection that I think are incredibly neat, especially to fans like myself. So obviously I'm not going to get spoilers or anything like that, but Soul Reaver 1 and 2 have very famously deep, intricate, and crazy cool stories, and the voice acting of it is by far the best part of it. Every character, every actor, everything is conveyed. Like, these people really sound like these ageless monsters, and I love that. The sound here seems to be presented better than it ever has. It's better balanced, it's better tuned, it just across the board sounds so much better than it did when I was a kid. Maybe it's just that I'm not playing it on a busted CRT TV, and now I have an actual TV, but it's just so freaking cool to experience this story that I already loved better than ever. Raziel is one of the vampire lords. He's killed by Kain because he evolved a gift that Kain himself had not yet been given. Centuries later, he awakens, and now he's given a chance to try and hunt down and kill Kain to fix the cycle of life and death. The vampires at this point, since it's been so many hundreds of years, they rule the land. They've killed off pretty much all the humans, and the entirety of life on this place have now begun to decay. The planet itself is dying, so you're trying to essentially fix the timeline, correct the worlds, and get some delicious revenge at the same time. Now, I like this story a lot, but they've added in something here that is kind of brilliant. an interactive lore map. Now, this is in the options menu, it's in the bonus features, but it lets you actually look at major events. It points out all the locations. It explains more about the environments and great aspects of the story itself like that. But it also has these cool freaking outtakes. In the options menu, you can actually hear the actors. It has footage of them and stuff trying out lines and being goofy, and I've never seen this before. They've also added in unfinished levels. There's a lost level section that lets you play through different sections of the game with alternate versions where, hey, here's a level we made and we decided to cut, or, oh, we made this chamber or this boss room and we decided to try something else, so we went a different direction. It's cool to actually see these chunks of the game that were cut from the final product. It's just so good. I gotta say that as a fan of the Soul Reaver collection, just in general, the games, the saga, Legacy of Kain, all of it, this is so much better than I ever could have hoped. The amount of respect, the amount of love, this is Soul Reaver, but just better. This is $30, and honestly, it's worth every penny. I especially love the fact that it has so much trophy support. I'm a big fan of hunting trophies and stuff like that. They put in fun challenges of throw a vampire down into the pit of souls, do this, try and do an execution without using this kind of magic. It really does make it so every unlockable, every new chapter of the game, every new area looks better than it ever has, plays better than it ever has. It just sounds better than it ever has. This is a love letter to the Soul Reaver fans, and absolutely it is worth your money. Now, if I had to put a score on it, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. I still feel like the camera is not quite perfect. It does still get jittery at times like this. It is still a drastic improvement. Overall, this collection is fantastic. If you're a new fan of the series, check it out, but don't be afraid to look up a strategy guide because, yes, some stuff isn't going to be as clear as you perhaps hope, but across the board, this rocks. But tell me what you think about Soul Reaver in the comments down below, and if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Oh my god, you guys have no idea. I've been sick as heck this week, and just getting a chance to sit down and play Soul Reaver, what a good time. Holy heck. Life is good sometimes, for sure. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.